Welcome back. This is a special edition of Modern Business, where our guest host, Zack Fishman, brings us millennials in franchising. Our community is about sharing knowledge and tools that help us achieve our goals in business and beyond. This is Millennial Monthly on Modern Business.
Hello, everyone. This is Zack Fishman here, your guest host from Millennial Monthly. I'm coming to you live here again for our fourth episode. This will be our August edition. I have here Carmelo Marsala, the CEO of SprayNet, a very, very successful franchisor out of Canada. Carmelo, say hello.
Hi.
So, guys, just to kind of review is typically what we do. Today, what I'm going to go through is just a series of 5 questions that Carmelo is going to go through and answer just how he has really differentiated his business as a millennial CEO. This typically takes about 15 to 20 minutes. And again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment on any of the social media posting that will be coming out when this is actually posted online via LinkedIn and Facebook. And if you're also interested in actually being interviewed and you are a millennial CEO, please feel free to contact me at Zack, Z-A-C-K, at franfunnel.com. So first, Carmelo, I wanted to just ask you the easiest question that I think you'll hear all day. Please just tell me a little bit about your business and how you guys actually got it started.
Sure. Well, I was actually a student painting franchisee, and I was actually going to get a job until a customer asked me a pretty important question: is if I could do her vinyl windows, and I didn't have the answer, and I realized there's a lot of things on the outside of a home that conventional paint couldn't really do. So I started researching different ways that these surfaces were coated in a factory. And then we decided that we had to make something that could be applied outside, and spent some time meeting chemists and stuff like that. And we developed a product that's now patented, and went from being a franchisee for College Pro to a franchisor.
Oh, well, awesome. And definitely probably one of the more successful stories that I've heard, folks. Carmelo is a winner of the NextGen program here through the IFA, and he's definitely done a lot of great work in the space. And Carmelo, tell me if I'm wrong, you've sold out Canada, correct?
Yeah, we actually have a couple territories left that we're actually in the process of awarding now.
Oh, well, awesome. So you're almost done with the entire country, so that's pretty good stuff. So we like to hear that. So really number 2, and I think this is something that a lot of folks typically wonder when they listen to our podcast here, is kind of surrounding around how you differentiated yourself because you are a millennial CEO. Obviously, millennials think of things quite a bit differently than a lot of other folks in the franchise space. The franchise space is at its core a little bit older. And so just kind of curious as to kind of how you took the fact that you are a younger guy and really kind of channeled that into your business.
Yeah, well, I think as entrepreneurs, and especially as millennial entrepreneurs, we question everything. So I never actually had a real job either. So I didn't have any really preconceived notions of how things should go and how things should be. So we realized that just figuring out on our own, we ended up doing things quite differently from everybody else, and sometimes the opposite. And it seems like sometimes the opposite works better if you just believe that that's the way it should be done. You just get everybody on board. So, I mean, one of the things that we do a lot of is software and automation. So we pretty much automate as much of our workflow as we possibly can, and now we're just collecting data to implement machine learning into our franchise system. So I know this is a buzzword now, and a lot of franchisors are thinking, how do I implement machine learning and how do I collect data and all of that? That was just second nature to us, just because we grew up with software and we grew up with this stuff. So it just, I guess, it facilitates these kind of things.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that data is obviously so important to what millennials are doing in the franchise space today. A lot of the tools that a lot of franchisors are using that are a little bit larger, typically the data analytics pieces are handled by people that are a little bit on the younger side. And so it is just much more natural to us. And so I applaud you for really taking that mindset and truly being the breadwinner for it. So number 3 is kind of surrounding around how you've actually gone after franchisees. Are you going after millennial franchisees similar to yourself that were College Pro painters and then they decided that they wanted to become a part of your network as well? Or are you steering away from the millennial franchisees and kind of going towards a more an older profile?
Well, actually, most of our franchisees are between 35 and 45. we do actually have about 20% of our system is millennials. And it's funny because we just actually did our Q2 recap, and our top 5 franchisees in our entire system, 4 out of the 5 were millennials. So that being said, yes, we are definitely targeting more and more millennials just because they think like us. They can use the tools that we provide them, and it's just an easier onboarding process because we're speaking all the same language. So because we're a millennial staff, yeah, we're definitely looking for more millennials now.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I guess my question kind of based off of that is, how are you finding these millennial franchisees? Are they finding you through referrals, through your successful franchisees, or are you guys using any type of particular methods to find these people from a lead gen standpoint?
So a bit of both. I guess I have the advantage of being a millennial CEO, so we get a good amount of coverage through that. We were featured on the Canadian national news because we're a millennial company. So through public relations, we definitely attract people like us. But also, if we're going to talk about like lead gen, yeah, we definitely do a whole bunch of Facebook campaigns. And when we're targeting millennials through those Facebook campaigns or LinkedIn campaigns, the videos are slightly different. The videos will showcase me rather than the product, right? So they can connect with the fact that we're a millennial company. So, if there are millennials in other brands, and you want to target more of them, well, showcase them, do a profile on them. That's what we did with our Prince Edward Island franchisee. We got him on the front page of the newspaper, and then we used that in our ads just to attract other millennials.
Absolutely, and that certainly makes sense too. And I think that the fact that you guys are using Facebook advertising and LinkedIn advertising and all of that to kind of go after people within our own generation is obviously really intelligent, and the way that you're tailoring your content to kind of speak differently to the different audiences is obviously very smart, and obviously it's been working for you guys too. So in regards to the next question here is kind of surrounding around your customers on the consumer side. How are you guys actually going after folks on the consumer side? Is it more millennial centric in terms of your typical customer, or is it not? And kind of how are you finding your typical customer as well?
Yeah, well, I think this one is even more heavily skewed towards not being a millennial because we're in the home service space. So most homeowners are over 35, probably in their late 30s. Well, in Canada, I mean, for that matter, I don't know about the US, but I'm assuming it's about the same thing. And so we do realize that more and more millennials are homeowners and they do want to renovate. And because our service is much cheaper than an actual replacement of all their siding or their windows, we are getting more and more millennial customers. So what we are starting to do is we're starting to figure out, well, millennials buy things online. So how can we make it more seamless for millennials to buy our service online? So now we're actually introducing a chat bot. We're introducing a simulator where they can actually get an idea of the price online. And eventually the goal is for them to be able to buy our home service actually online without having to actually get a salesperson in their home, because that's just not how we buy anymore.
Absolutely. Wow. I honestly, and folks, I've known Carmelo for a number of years now. I didn't even know you were doing that. That's pretty good stuff. And I think that that's certainly the way things are going. You're seeing more and more that the chat 24/7 feature on a lot of websites is obviously franchisors are investing in that more and more. And I think that you are right in that things are becoming more Amazon centric in terms of the way that we buy things. And I think that that's certainly the way that you need to go about it in order to really get things done the right way. So last question that I have for you, Carmelo, is one which a lot of folks that typically wonder when they listen to this podcast as well is what do you wish you knew as a millennial franchisor that you now know now?
Well, I mean, every time you go to any franchise convention, they're like, well, choose the right franchisees. And the thing is, that's not so easy to do because you don't even know what, especially when you're starting up, is who's actually going to be successful in your franchise. So if there's one thing I would have liked to know is who's actually have been successful in our franchise. And now that we know that, we can better target and we can better qualify people. But, at the beginning, you just don't know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think that that's something that all franchisors struggle with, that even if rather you have a CEO who's 28 or if you have a CEO who's 68, it doesn't necessarily matter. Finding the right franchisee profile is certainly one of the hardest parts of the business. And, does the franchisee make money? Does the franchisee kind of fit the mold? Does the franchisee not fit the mold, but are they going to potentially be successful based off of other data points? It's a whole host of things to really figure out. And folks, that's how you know that it doesn't necessarily change no matter how young or old you are. So thank you so much, Carmelo. This was some really great stuff, and I hope that you enjoyed coming on and everything, and we really appreciate it, of course. Folks, please feel free to obviously share this around, and feel free to email me any questions that you may have. Carmelo and I are obviously more than happy to answer anything in terms about his story, and if you want to kind of learn more about how to be a SprayNet franchisee or anything of that nature, feel free to contact either of us, and we'll obviously point you in the right direction. Please stay tuned for our September edition. It should be coming out towards the middle of September. Guests to be determined. And thank you all again for listening. And Carmelo, thank you once again for joining us as well.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.